Matt and Claire had been together for just over a year. Young and in love, they decided to spend their vacation in Miami. But the typical beach holiday quickly became boring. Matt insisted, "Let's take a boat and sail away. Somewhere where there are no people, just us and the ocean." They found an old fisherman who, for a small fee, rented them a motorboat for the day. The sky was clear, the sea calm. An hour later, fog appeared on the horizon, thick, gray, unnatural for a summer afternoon. It seemed as if the ocean was covered in haze, and a low hum came from the depths. "Let's go back," said Claire. However, Matt just shrugged and stepped on the gas. Suddenly, dark smoke poured out of the boat's engine, and it stopped working. The boat was carried away by the current. About an hour passed when the fog cleared and they saw an island. It was small, overgrown with dense trees, with a white beach where there were no traces of people, birds, or even crabs. When they landed, they had a strange feeling, as if the air was heavier here. All around them, they saw only the ocean and a sandy shore surrounded by dense vegetation. The silence was deafening. There was no wind, no sound of waves, only their own breathing. The watch on Matt's wrist suddenly stopped. Claire's phone showed no signal, and Matt's phone was completely dead. They had no connection to the outside world. They decided to explore the island. Everything looked strange inside the thickets. The trees had twisted trunks, and their bark was covered with something resembling writing. The inscriptions were in an incomprehensible language, and it was impossible to make out what was written. Matt thought he saw the patterns on the tree bark change when he looked away. At night, they had the same dreams. These dreams repeated themselves every night. They dreamed that they had lived on this island for decades. They built a hut, caught fish, and cooked their own food. They grew old and lived their lives on this island. In the morning, Claire said tearfully, "I saw us burying each other." I felt my hair turning gray. Matt wanted to cheer her up, reassure her, tell her that everything was fine. However, when he went for a run, he noticed his reflection in the water. He was shocked to see the first wrinkles on his face. The days dragged on like an eternity. Sometimes the sun didn't move from its place. Sometimes, in an hour, the sky would go through all the phases of the day: dawn, noon, sunset, night. There was always food. New fruit would always appear on the trees. The water in the stream always stayed clean and cold. However, the more they ate and drank, the more their bodies weakened. A week later, an alarm was raised on the Florida coast. 2 tourists had gone missing. Rescuers combed the ocean and found their boat drifting nearby. Matt and Claire were found on the shore of this deserted island. The rescuers were surprised because this island was not on the maps. Before this incident, no one had ever mentioned this island. They were barely recognizable. The 20-year-old boy and girl had turned into gray-haired, wrinkled old people. They were conscious but cried, begging to return to the island. They claimed that this island had become their home, that they were happy on this island. They said they had left decades of their lives there. "We lived there for 40 years, Matt whispered. "This is our home," Claire repeated. When the rescuers brought the boat with them to shore, the Coast Guard officers tried to record the coordinates of the mysterious island. However, when they returned to the same place where they had found Matt and Claire, the rescuers saw only the endless ocean. The doctors were amazed. In 7 days, their bodies had aged decades. There was no medical explanation for this. All the tests only confirmed that Matt and Claire were elderly people, even though their documents indicated that they were 20 years old. Later, journalists tried to interview them. However, the couple refused to talk. They sat in the nursing home holding hands and remained silent. Sometimes at night, neighbors heard Claire muttering, "Tomorrow I'll go to the stream and gather fruit." "And you fix the roof of the hut." Matt smiled in response and closed his eyes. No one saw the islands again. However, the Coast Guard kept strange radio recordings from that day, distorted voices similar to their own, repeating the same thing. "We live here. We are growing old here. We will never leave.